Qur'an. Chapter 52, Surah At-Tur by Sayyid Qutb, translation by Muhammad Al-Amrani. In the name of God, the most compassionate, the most merciful. By the mount and the book inscribed on parchment spread wide open, and by the ever-visited house and the lofty vault of the sky and the surging sea, indeed the torment of your sustainer is bound to come. There is none who can avert it. On the day when the heavens shall sway in turmoil and the mountains shall be made to move, woe then, on that day, to those who deny the truth, those who, lost in idle talk, play in distraction. On the day they are thrust towards the blazing fire of hell with force. This is the fire you used to deny. Is this sorcery, or do you still not see? Enter it then, endure it, or do not endure. It will be all the same for you. You are only being repaid for what you used to do. Verily, the God-conscious will be in gardens of bliss, rejoicing in what their sustainer has bestowed upon them, and their sustainer shall shield them from the torment of the blazing fire. Eat and drink with delight for what you used to do, reclining on lined-up couches, and we shall marry them to companions pure and beautiful. As for those who believed and whose descendants followed them in faith, we shall unite them with their offspring, and we shall not diminish from their deeds in any way. Every soul is held in pledge for what it has earned. We shall provide them with fruits and meat, whatever they desire. There they shall pass to one another a cup free of frivolity, free of all taint of ill. And there shall circulate among them youths, as if they were pearls well guarded. And they shall turn to one another, saying, Truly, we used to be in awe amidst our families, but God has granted us his grace and shielded us from the torment of the scorching wind. Truly, we used to call upon him before. Indeed, he is the most beneficent, the most merciful. So remind them, for by the grace of your sustainer, you are neither a soothsayer nor possessed. Or do they say, he is a poet, we await the fatal misfortune for him? Say, wait then, for indeed I am waiting with you. Is it their reason that prompts them to this? Or are they people who transgress all bounds? Or do they say, he fabricates it? But no, they do not believe. Let them bring forth speech like it if they are truthful. Were they created out of nothing, or are they the creators themselves? Did they create the heavens and the earth? No, but they are without certainty. Or do they possess the treasuries of your sustainer, or are they in control? Or do they have a stairway by which they overhear the secrets of heaven? Then let their eavesdropper bring a clear proof. Or does he have daughters while you have sons? Or do you ask them for a payment so they are burdened by debt? Or do they possess knowledge of the unseen and they write it down? Or do they plot and scheme? But those who disbelieve are the ones ensnared in their own schemes. Or do they have a God other than God? Exalted is God above what they associate with him. Even if they saw a fragment of the sky falling, they would say, it is merely clouds heaped up. So leave them until they face their day, the day when they shall be struck down. On that day their plotting will avail them nothing, nor will they be helped. And indeed for those who have wronged, there is a punishment before that, but most of them do not know. So bear with patience the command of your sustainer, for you are ever under our watchful eyes, and exalt your sustainer with praise when you rise, and in the night glorify him, and at the setting of the stars. This surah unfolds as a profound and penetrating onslaught upon the human heart, chasing down every shadow of doubt, suspicion, and falsehood that may linger or whisper within its depths. It leaves no refuge for excuses or pretensions, no hiding place for the heart to evade the truth or stray from faith. It is an assault so relentless that no heart can withstand its force, pursuing it until it yields to submission and surrenders to the undeniable truth. This relentless pursuit is woven into the very fabric of the surah, its words and phrases, its meanings and allusions, its imagery and shadows, and the rhythmic musicality of its verses. From the beginning to the end, its verses strike like thunderbolts, its rhythms like flashes of lightning, its images and shades like scorching whips, leaving the listener no respite from start to finish. The surah opens with a solemn oath by sacred entities of the heavens and the earth, some visible and known, others hidden and mysterious. By the mount and by the book inscribed, on parchment unrolled, and by the ever-visited house and the lofty vault of the sky. This oath heralds an awesome and dreadful event, one that shakes the heart to its core, casting fear into the very senses. The expression itself reflects the magnitude of what it foretells, a scene so terrifying that it causes the heart to tremble. Indeed, the torment of your sustainer is bound to come. There is none who can avert it. On the day when the heavens will sway in turmoil, and the mountains shall be made to move. In the midst of this frightening spectacle, we hear echoes of woe and terror, a warning that pierces the soul. Woe on that day to the deniers of truth, those who, lost in distraction, play heedlessly. On the day they will be thrust into the fire of hell with force. This is the fire you used to deny. Is this sorcery, or can you not see? Enter it whether you endure or not. It will be all the same for you. You are only being recompensed for what you used to do. This is one movement of the pursuit, a storm of terror that overwhelms the senses. Then follows another movement, one that tempts the heart with visions of peace and bliss, contrasting the horrors of punishment with the serenity of the righteous. Here the scene shifts to a portrayal of the God-conscious and the honour and delight awaiting them. The description of their blessings is long and detailed, evoking in the listener a sense of the soothing calm after the storm of torment. Indeed, the God-conscious will be in gardens of bliss, rejoicing in what their sustainer has given them, and their sustainer will protect them from the torment of the blazing fire. Eat and drink with delight for what you used to do. Reclining on couches arranged in rows, and we will marry them to companions pure and beautiful. And so, having felt the lashes of torment and tasted the sweetness of bliss, the human heart is now taken into the third movement of this relentless pursuit. It chases away the last traces of doubt, undermines every false argument, and leaves no room for delusion. The truth is presented with such clarity and force that it leaves no space for evasion or debate. It bends the will and compels it to surrender, its logic sharp and uncompromising. So remind them, for by the grace of your sustainer you are neither a soothsayer nor possessed. Or do they say, he is a poet? We await the fatal misfortune for him. Say, wait then, for I am waiting with you. Or does their reason command them to this? Or are they a people transgressing all bounds? Or do they say, he fabricates it? No, they do not believe. Let them bring a discourse like it if they are truthful. Were they created from nothing, or are they their own creators? Or did they create the heavens and the earth? No, they are not certain. Or do they possess the treasures of your sustainer? Or are they in control? With this barrage of questions, these thunderous bolts of logic, the Surah demolishes every falsehood, leaving the arrogant and defiant utterly speechless. It hurls at them an undeniable reality, a truth that cannot be twisted or ignored. Or do they have a stairway by which they overhear the secrets of the heavens? Then let their listener bring forth clear proof. And finally, after this unrelenting storm of truth, they are left with a dire warning. Leave them until they meet their day, the day when they will be struck down, the day when their plotting will avail them nothing, and they will receive no help. And so the surah ends on a note of tranquility, turning its address to the Prophet, comforting and exalting him in a tone of incomparable grace. And be patient for the command of your sustainer, for you are under our watchful eyes. And glorify your sustainer with praise when you rise, and in the night glorify him as the stars fade away. This final passage wipes away the hardship and toil that the noble messenger endures, facing those who mock and challenge him. It is a reminder of the divine care that surrounds him, offering solace amidst the struggle. By the mountain the book inscribed on parchment spread wide open, and by the ever-visited house and the lofty vault of the sky and the surging sea, indeed the torment of your sustainer is bound to come, there is none who can avert it. On the day when the heavens shall sway in turmoil, and the mountains shall be made to move, woe then on that day to those who deny the truth, those who, lost in idle talk, play in distraction. On the day they are thrust towards the blazing fire of hell with force. This is the fire you used to deny. Is this sorcery, Or do you still not see? Enter it then. Endure it or do not endure. It will be all the same for you. You are only being repaid for what you used to do. These verses, with their short melodic phrases, resonate throughout the surah. The rhythm begins with a single word, then expands to two, gradually lengthening until the final phrase reaches 12 words, all while maintaining the rhythmic strength that defines its power. The mount, a mountain clothed in sacred trees, is most likely the very Mount Sinai, the one mentioned in the story of Moses, upon which the tablets were revealed. The atmosphere is one of sacredness, as God swears by these revered symbols of the heavens and the earth, leading to the tremendous matter that is about to unfold. And by the book inscribed on parchment unrolled, this may refer to the book given to Moses, written on the tablets, for its context aligns with the sacred mount. Others have suggested it is the preserved tablet, aligned with the mention of the ever-visited house and the elevated sky, each a part of the unseen yet immensely sacred realm. The ever-visited house could be the Kaaba, but it is more likely the celestial house of worship frequented by the angels. As narrated in the Hadith of the Night Journey, "Then I was raised up to the ever-visited house where 70,000 angels enter daily, never to return." This heavenly house mirrors the Kaaba on earth, where the faithful circle in devotion. The lofty vault of the sky, the heavens above, raised high and magnificent, was spoken of by the early scholars, as noted by Ali, may God honour him, who referenced the verse, "And we have made the heavens a guarded roof, yet they turn away from its signs." The sea set aflame, vast, filled with majesty and awe, is the perfect counterpart to the sky in this cosmic scene. Its sheer expanse, brimming with power and mystery, makes it fitting to be mentioned alongside these tremendous signs, for it carries both awe and fear. Some interpret it as a sea ignited with fire, as referenced elsewhere. And when the seas are set aflame, it may also be a sign of a different creation known only to God. By swearing upon these monumental creations, God prepares the soul for the immense matter that follows. Indeed, the torment of your sustainer is bound to come. There is none who can avert it. The impact of these verses is absolute and decisive, evoking a sense of impending, inescapable doom. The sound of the words strikes the heart like a forceful blow, leaving no room for denial or escape. When this rhythm reaches the human soul unhindered, it shakes it to its very core. Such was the power of these words that they caused Umar ibn al-Khattab, may God be pleased with him, to collapse. The story goes that one night, while patrolling the streets of Medina, Umar passed by a house and overheard a man reciting, "By the mount, and the torment of your sustainer is bound to come, none can avert it." He swore, "By the sustainer of the Kaaba, it is true." He dismounted, leaned against a wall, and was so overwhelmed by these words that he remained ill for an entire month, with people visiting him without knowing what had caused his affliction. Though Umar had heard and recited these verses before, and even led prayers with them, having learned them from the Prophet, peace be upon him, on that night they reached his heart in a way they had not before. His heart was exposed, his soul open to their divine weight, and they penetrated deeply, just as they had when the Prophet first received them. For him they were bearable, as he had been prepared to receive such revelations, but for others these words could overwhelm, as they did to Umar, when they reached the heart with their primal force. Following this overwhelming rhythm, the surah presents a fearsome scene to accompany it. On the day when the heavens will sway in turmoil and the mountains shall move away with ease. The heavens, once firm and strong, will quake and heave like waves in a storm-tossed sea, thrown this way and that with no stability. The mighty mountains, once unshakable, will drift away as if they were light, weightless, and without any foundation. This scene is both awe-inspiring and terrifying, showing the cosmic upheaval that reflects the sheer magnitude of the event. And if the heavens and mountains are so shaken, how much more so will the frail, weak human soul be in the face of such overwhelming terror? Amidst the overwhelming terror, where nothing remains firm and under the shadow of this soul-shaking dread, those who deny the truth are confronted with an even greater horror. They are met with a curse of woe from the Almighty, the overpowering. So woe on that day to those who deny the truth, those who, lost in frivolous distractions, indulge in play. This curse of woe issued by God is not merely a warning, it is a decree, an inevitable judgment, impossible to escape. It will descend upon them with certainty, just as the heavens will sway in chaos and the mountains will be set in motion. This terror is perfectly aligned with the doom awaiting those who are heedless, those who, immersed in trifles, play as if life were but a game. This description applies first and foremost to the pagans of old, their shaky beliefs, their flimsy notions, and the lives they led based on these baseless ideas. Lives of play, with no seriousness or purpose. They wandered aimlessly, like children splashing in the shallows of a sea, with no destination in mind, their only goal to indulge in meaningless play. But it also holds true for anyone who adopts a worldview other than the one set forth by Islam. This is a reality that becomes clear when one compares the various philosophies and beliefs of humanity with the Islamic view of human existence, and of all existence. Even the grandest philosophies of history's most esteemed thinkers resemble the fumblings of children, stumbling in their attempts to grasp the truth. In contrast, the Islamic perspective, especially as conveyed through the Qur'an, is presented with clarity, calm, lucid, powerful, simple yet profound. It resonates directly with the human soul, requiring no struggle, no confusion, no complexity, for it speaks to the soul's deepest innate truths. It explains existence and man's relationship with it, in a way that aligns effortlessly with the nature of the soul, as it reveals the link between creation and its creator. I have often marveled, as I studied the thoughts of great philosophers, at the torturous struggle they undergo in their attempts to explain the nature of existence and its relationships. It is as though they are children grappling with an impossible mathematical problem, while before me lies the Quranic explanation, clear, radiant, effortless and natural, without distortion, without complication. This is only to be expected, for the Qur'an is the explanation offered by the Creator himself, the one who made this universe and knows its nature. The philosophies of men, on the other hand, are mere attempts by small parts of this creation to explain the whole, a task destined for futility. It is ultimately confusion, a mix of ideas, an endless wandering in darkness. Compared to the complete, mature and perfect vision presented by the Qur'an, which offers a path straight and true, all other attempts seem like the stumblings of lost souls. The affairs of humanity remain muddled and unclear, swayed by misguided perceptions, until they hear the words of the Qur'an on the very subject that perplexes them. Suddenly there is a calm light, a steady balance, where everything falls into its rightful place. Every matter finds its correct position. Every truth stands firm, unshaken, unwavering. The listener feels peace in their soul, tranquility in their heart, and certainty in their mind, as the veil of confusion lifts and everything becomes clear and settled. It is in this light that all human concerns appear trivial compared to the lofty concerns Islam instills in the soul. The distractions that consume people seem petty and insignificant when measured against the grand purpose Islam sets before the believer. To the one absorbed in fulfilling his true role in life, the busyness and preoccupations of others appear as meaningless as children playing with dolls, mistaking them for living beings, wasting their time in frivolous games. Islam elevates human concerns by elevating their understanding of existence itself. It reveals the purpose of life, the truth of our being, and the ultimate destiny of all things. It provides the clearest, most truthful answers to the deepest questions. Where did I come from? Why am I here? Where am I going? Islam's answer to these questions not only defines the true nature of human existence, but also offers a complete explanation of the entire universe and humanity's place within it. Man is not an anomaly. He is part of the grand creation. He comes from the same source, shares the same purpose, and will return to the same ultimate end as the rest of creation. The answers Islam provides encompass the whole of existence, our relationship with it, and the bond between all things and their Creator. This understanding transforms the priorities of the believer, lifting them to match the significance of their existence. Thus, the concerns of others seem insignificant, weak, and small to the Muslim, who is focused on fulfilling the great role assigned to him in this vast cosmos. The believer's life is too precious to waste on trivialities, too meaningful to squander in idle pursuits. Many of the things that preoccupy people seem like mere games when viewed through the lens of a life dedicated to serving the grand purpose of creation. Woe, then, to those who wander aimlessly in play, on the day they are dragged toward the fire of hell, pushed with force. What a terrifying scene. Dragged, a word that captures the harshness and severity of the moment. It is a forceful, brutal motion, befitting those who, lost in play, failed to grasp the seriousness of life. They are driven, prodded in their backs, as though their heedlessness has left them unresponsive to the reality unfolding around them. And so they are pushed and shoved towards their inevitable fate. And when they are driven and thrust toward the very edge of the fire, it will be said to them, "This is the fire you used to deny." Amidst their torment, as they are being pushed and pulled towards the flames that now face them against their will, comes a voice of reproach and mockery, recalling their past denials. Is this sorcery, or is it that you cannot see? They had once claimed that the Qur'an was nothing but magic. And now, do they also see this fire as sorcery? Or is it the undeniable truth, overwhelming and terrifying? Or is it that they, who had been blind to the truth of the Qur'an, cannot see this fire before their very eyes? After this bitter reproach there follows a despair even darker. Enter it, whether you endure it or not, it is all the same to you. You're only being repaid for what you used to do. What could be more crushing to those afflicted by such a fate than to know that patience and impatience alike are of no avail? The torment is inescapable, its pain unrelenting, whether they bear it in silence or wail in despair. The punishment is fixed, its duration unchangeable, for it is the recompense for what they themselves had wrought, a punishment that will not be altered or abated. Thus ends this terrible scene, as the first part of this harrowing journey closes with its grim and fearsome rhythm. But the second part of the narrative is one that stirs the soul with the promise of ease and bliss, a call to pleasures that cannot be resisted, especially after witnessing the grim torments of the previous scene. Indeed, the righteous will be in gardens and bliss, rejoicing in what their sustainer has bestowed upon them and protected from the torment of hellfire. Eat and drink in comfort for what you used to do, reclining on couches lined up in rows, and we will marry them to companions with wide, beautiful eyes. And those who believed and whose offspring followed them in faith, we will unite them with their descendants without diminishing their own reward in the slightest. Every person is accountable for what they have earned. We will provide them with fruit and meat of whatever they desire. They will pass around a cup of wine free from idle talk and sin. They will be served by youthful attendants as if they were hidden pearls, and they will turn to one another, questioning. They will say, "Indeed, we were once among our people in fear, but God has been gracious to us and has protected us from the torment of the scorching fire. Indeed, we used to call upon him before. Truly, he is the most kind, the most merciful." This scene is one of sheer delight, appealing to the senses, drawing the heart toward the blissful reward. It stands in stark contrast to the severe punishment reserved for those who had hardened their hearts and been heedless of the truth. Indeed, the righteous will be in gardens and bliss, rejoicing in what their sustainer has bestowed upon them and protected from the torment of hellfire. Merely being saved from the torment of hellfire, whose horrors were vividly portrayed in this very chapter, would itself be a blessing beyond measure. But here, in addition, they are granted gardens of bliss, and they delight in what their sustainer has given them, indulging in joy and ease. And along with this abundance comes the voice of honor and congratulations. Eat and drink in comfort for what you used to do. This in itself is a divine bounty, an invitation from the Most High, affirming their worthiness of all that they now enjoy. Reclining on couches lined up in rows, they experience the joy of gathering with their brethren in this paradise, a fellowship enhanced by the pleasures of this divine garden. And we will marry them to companions with wide, beautiful eyes, a fulfillment of the most cherished dreams of beauty and delight that fill the hearts of humankind. The honour is further magnified as their believing offspring are gathered to them in this paradise, an additional grace and kindness. Even if the deeds of their descendants did not quite match the station of the righteous, as long as they held firm in faith, they are united with their ancestors without diminishing the reward of the elders in the least. No injustice is done, for each individual remains accountable for their own deeds, yet this is a reflection of God's boundless grace. And those who believed and whose offspring followed them in faith, we will unite them with their descendants without diminishing their own reward in the slightest. Every person is accountable for what they have earned. The scene continues, offering glimpses of the rich variety of delights, fruit and meat in abundance, whatever their hearts may desire, and they pass around a cup of wine, not like the wine of this world which leads to idle chatter and sin. This drink is pure, free from any taint of wrongdoing or regret. As they sit together sharing this cup in camaraderie, their enjoyment is enhanced by the bonds of brotherhood and togetherness, adding to the joy and tranquility of this paradise. In this blessed gathering they are attended by servants described as youths like hidden pearls, radiant in their purity and grace. Their very presence adds to the beauty and refinement of the gathering, elevating the atmosphere to one of perfect bliss. To complete the serene atmosphere of this blissful scene, their intimate conversations unfold as they reminisce about their past, reflecting on what brought them to this state of safety, contentment, ease and joy. Their hearts are then unveiled to the secret of this delight, pointing toward the path that led them to such a paradise. They will turn to one another and ask, "Indeed, we were once among our families in fear, but God has been gracious to us and has protected us from the scorching torment. Indeed, we used to call upon him before. Truly, he is the most kind, the most merciful." The secret, then, is that they lived in constant awareness of this day. They lived in fear of meeting their sustainer, filled with trepidation regarding his judgment. Even while they were among their families, where there could have been false security, they did not allow themselves to be deceived. Amidst distractions that could have led them astray, they remained vigilant. In return, God showed them his grace, shielding them from the scorching torment, the searing punishment that burns through bodies like a venomous poison. He saved them out of his bounty and favour, for he knew of their piety, their fear and their watchfulness. They recognize this now and understand that no deed on its own admits a person to paradise. It is only through the grace and favour of God. Their efforts were no more than a testimony to their sincere striving, their yearning for what is with God. And this striving became their qualification for the divine bounty. Alongside their fear, vigilance and piety, they used to call upon God. Indeed, we used to call upon him before, and they knew well his attributes of kindness and mercy towards his servants. Truly, he is the most kind, the most merciful. Thus, the secret of their success is revealed in the intimate whispers of these honoured souls, who have been granted salvation in the abode of bliss. Now, having touched the senses with the lashes of intense punishment in the first scene and the echoes of joyous bliss in the second, the soul stands alert, ready to receive the unfolding truths. The discourse now shifts with swift and striking rhythms, chasing after the soul with undeniable realities, pursuing its doubts through the hidden recesses of the heart with sharp rhetorical questions and powerful challenges that the frail human spirit cannot withstand when they confront it from every side. So remind, for by the grace of your sustainer you are neither a soothsayer nor a madman. Or do they say, a poet, we await the misfortune of time to befall him? Say, wait, for indeed I too am waiting with you. Or do their minds command them to say this? Or are they a people transgressing beyond bounds? Or do they say he has made it up? Rather, they do not believe. Then let them produce a statement like it if they should be truthful. Were they created from nothing? Or are they the creators? Or did they create the heavens and the earth? Rather, they are not certain. Or do they have the treasures of your sustainer? Or are they in control of them? Or do they have a stairway to heaven from which they eavesdrop? Then let their listener produce a clear authority. Or does he have daughters while you have sons? Or do you ask of them a payment so they are burdened by debt? Or do they have knowledge of the unseen so they write it down? Or do they intend a plot? But those who disbelieve, they are the ones in a plot. Or do they have a God other than God? Exalted is God above whatever they associate with him. And if they were to see a fragment from the sky falling, they would say, it is just clouds in layers. So remind. This command is directed to the messenger. Peace and blessings be upon him, encouraging him to continue his message undeterred by their impudent accusations and slander. For they would say at times that he was a soothsayer. At other times they accused him of being mad. The link between these two accusations in their minds was their belief that soothsayers received knowledge from devils, and madness too was thought to be caused by demonic possession. So in their eyes the common factor between a soothsayer and a madman was the influence of devils. But what truly drove them to label the prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, with these false accusations, or to call him a poet or a magician, was their astonishment at the miraculous nature of the Qur'an. They, the masters of eloquence, were utterly bewildered by its unmatched beauty and profundity. Unable to admit that it was divine revelation, they grasped for any explanation, no matter how absurd, claiming that its source must be the jinn. Thus they labelled him a soothsayer, receiving whispers from the jinn, or a magician assisted by them, or a poet inspired by a supernatural muse, or a madman possessed by a devil who uttered these strange words through him. It was a vile and monstrous slander, but God comforts his messenger and diminishes the weight of their accusations. He bears witness to his prophet, affirming that he is enveloped in the grace of his sustainer, a grace that precludes any possibility of soothsaying or madness. So remind, for by the grace of your sustainer you are neither a soothsayer nor a madman. Then he rebukes their claim that the prophet is merely a poet. Or do they say, a poet we await the misfortune of time to befall him? They had indeed said this, advising one another to wait, to hold fast in their opposition until death came upon him and rid them of his message. They conspired to patiently outlast him, hoping that time would deliver them from his warnings. But the prophet is instructed to respond with a veiled threat. Say, wait, for indeed I too am waiting with you. Time will reveal who will meet their destined end, and who will emerge victorious. As the discourse continues, it mocks the so-called wisdom of the Quraysh elders, who were revered as men of great understanding. They were known as the possessors of sound judgment, but here they are ridiculed. Is their opposition to Islam a product of this wisdom, or are they simply tyrants who heed no reason? Or do their minds' reason command them to say this, or are they a people transgressing beyond bounds? The first question drips with biting sarcasm, while the second is a stinging accusation. One of these must surely apply to them. Their tongues had audaciously lashed out against the messenger of God, peace be upon him, accusing him of fabricating what he recited. Here the question is posed in disbelief. Do they say he has made it up? As though such a claim could not be uttered without astonishment. The question itself carries a tone of incredulity. Or do they say, he has made it up? Then the answer swiftly follows, revealing the root of this strange accusation. No, they do not believe. It is the absence of faith in their hearts that compels them to utter such absurd claims. For when their hearts are veiled from the truth of this Qur'an, they are blinded from perceiving its divine origin. Had they truly understood it, they would have known with certainty that it is not the work of any human, that it could only be borne by one who is both truthful and trustworthy. And since their hearts are unable to grasp the truth of this revelation, they are challenged with the undeniable proof of reality, a challenge that leaves no room for argument. then let them produce a discourse like it, if they are truthful. This challenge has been repeated throughout the Qur'an, and each time the deniers were left powerless, humiliated in their inability to respond. And thus it remains, standing before every human being until the day of judgment. There is in the Qur'an a unique secret, felt by anyone who encounters its verses, even before one explores the specific points of its miraculous nature. It carries an authority that touches the soul. There is something beyond the intellectual meanings it conveys, an element that seeps into the heart simply upon hearing the Qur'an. Some people perceive this clearly, while for others it remains subtle, but it is always there. This mysterious element that moves the senses is difficult to define. Is it in the words themselves? Is it in the meanings they contain? Is it in the imagery and shades that radiate from them? Is it the unique rhythm of the Qur'an, unlike the cadence of any human speech? Is it all of these combined, or something beyond, something indefinable? This secret lies in every verse of the Qur'an, felt by all who approach its text, and behind it are the more discernible mysteries that reveal themselves through contemplation, reflection, and the understanding of the Qur'an's overall structure, its comprehensive and correct vision of existence, of the reality of human life, of the entire cosmos, and of the primal truth from which all other truths flow, the truth of God, exalted be He. And then there is the method the Qur'an employs to build this complete and correct vision within the human mind. It speaks directly to the innate nature, fitra, in a manner unparalleled in any human discourse. It turns the heart from every angle, entering it through every door, treating it with the wisdom of one who knows every secret and every corner. And in its balance and harmony, in the way its guidance encompasses all aspects of life and stands firm upon a single horizon, it exhibits an absolute symmetry unmatched by any human effort. Human works are inconsistent, never maintaining the same level of clarity and coherence, never addressing every angle with such perfect balance. There is no excess, no deficiency, no neglect, no extravagance. The Qur'an achieves an unbroken harmony between its foundations and its branches, without contradiction or clash. These perceivable features, along with the hidden secret that defies denial, imbue this book with the mark of timeless miracle, evident in every era. It is a matter that no reasonable person, one who respects their own perception, their own integrity, and the truth that faces them with power and clarity, can dispute when they approach the Qur'an with a heart unclouded by arrogance. Then let them produce a discourse like it if they are truthful. The next question brings them face to face with the reality of their own existence, a reality they cannot evade. It is a fact they must confront, and there is no explanation for it except what the Qur'an declares, that they have a creator who brought them into being, and that creator is God, exalted be He. He exists by His own essence while they are His creation. Or were they created by nothing, or are they their own creators? The notion that they could have come into existence from nothing is immediately rejected by the natural logic of the innate human disposition, fitra. It needs no lengthy debate, and the idea that they created themselves is equally absurd, something no creature has ever claimed, nor could claim. If these two propositions are invalid by the very laws of nature, then only one truth remains, the truth revealed by the Qur'an, that they are all the creation of the one, the only God, who shares neither in creation nor in dominion. Therefore no one has the right to share in His sustainership or His worship. It is a simple and clear logic. Then they are confronted with the existence of the heavens and the earth before them. Did they create them? For certainly the heavens and the earth did not create themselves, just as these people did not create themselves. Or did they create the heavens and the earth? No, they are not certain. Neither they nor any rational mind that adheres to the natural logic of human disposition would ever claim that the heavens and the earth came into being without a creator, or that they created themselves, nor would they claim that they themselves were the creators of the heavens and the earth which stand before them as living questions demanding an answer. Indeed, when asked who created the heavens and the earth, they would reply, God. But this truth had not penetrated their hearts deeply enough to inspire the kind of certainty that moves the heart toward a clear and precise belief. No, They are not certain. The argument then steps down from the higher level of creation and brings them to the question of control and provision. Do they possess the treasures of God, holding sway over giving and withholding harm and benefit? Or do they have the treasures of your sustainer? Or are they in control? If they do not, and if they do not make such a claim, then who owns these treasures? Who controls the affairs of existence? The Qur'an declares it is God, the one who grants and withholds, the one who governs all things. This is the only explanation for the unfolding of events in the universe, for the granting and withholding, the guiding and controlling, once it is established that they are neither the owners of the treasures nor the ones who manage the affairs of the cosmos. Then he brings them down yet another step, asking if they have some means of eavesdropping on the source of revelation, or have they a ladder to listen? Then let their listener bring a clear proof. Muhammad, peace be upon him, declares to them that he is but a messenger receiving divine inspiration, that this Qur'an descends upon him from the highest assembly. Yet they reject his claim. So do they possess a ladder that reaches the heavens, allowing them to overhear and know that Muhammad is not receiving revelation, and that the truth is otherwise. Let their listener bring forth a clear proof, a compelling evidence so strong that it forces belief upon the hearts. Here lies a subtle allusion to the majestic authority of the Qur'an itself, an authority that confronts them with its verses and arguments, yet they stubbornly resist and rebel against it. Next, he challenges one of their baseless assertions about God, exalted be he, their claim that he has daughters, as they imagine the angels to be female. The question is directed to them in a way that intensifies their embarrassment and exposes the absurdity of their claim. Or has he daughters while you have sons? They, who regarded daughters as lesser than sons, to the point where their faces would darken with sorrow and anger upon the birth of a female child, did not hesitate to attribute daughters to God. Here he confronts them with their own customs and traditions, shaming them with the inherent contradiction of their claim. For even by their own standards, this accusation does not hold. They also found the Prophet's call to guidance burdensome, even though he offered it to them pure and free, asking for no reward nor imposing any levy upon them. The least they could have done was to respond with kindness, or at the very least decline with decency if they chose not to accept what he offered. Yet he addresses their unwarranted hostility, asking, or do you ask them for a payment so they are burdened by debt? Do they bear some imaginary financial burden, weighed down by the cost of compensating him for what he teaches? If, in truth, there is no fee nor any penalty, how ugly and disgraceful does their behaviour appear when confronted with such baseless hostility? Once again, he turns them toward the reality of their own existence and their place within it. They are but servants, bound by limits, with only a portion of this existence unveiled to them. The rest, the unseen realm, belongs exclusively to the owner of this existence. They are barred from it, for they are mere servants, or do they have access to the unseen, and so they write it down? They know well that they possess no access to the unseen, that they have no knowledge of it, no power over it. They do not record in the scrolls of the unseen, only God writes therein what he wills, determining for his servants what he has decreed. The one who possesses the knowledge of the unseen, who governs and measures all things, is the only one with the authority to plan and plot. So why do they, who are barred from this knowledge, who cannot write in the divine record, plot and scheme against you? They say mockingly, "A poet, we wait for time to bring about his demise." Or do they intend a plot? But those who disbelieve are the ones ensnared. Indeed, it is they who are caught in the divine plot, the snare that God, the best of planners, has set for them. They are the ones upon whom the divine decree will fall, and it is they who will be ensnared by the very scheming they plot against the messenger of God. Or do they have a God other than God, one who can protect them, who takes care of them, who can defend them against the decree of God? Exalted is God above what they associate with him, glorified be he, far above their false and corrupted imaginings. With this exaltation of God's transcendence above all that they associate with him, this relentless and powerful discourse comes to a close. Every doubt has been stripped away, every argument dismantled. The disbelievers are left exposed, stripped of all excuses and devoid of any valid proof. At this point, they stand revealed for what they truly are: stubborn deniers, clinging to the weakest of pretenses, refusing to acknowledge the clear truth that stares them in the face. And if they were to see a fragment of the sky falling down upon them, they would say, "It is but a mass of clouds." Even if the punishment were sent upon them in the form of a piece of the sky descending with destruction in its wake, they would, in their stubbornness, deny what they witnessed, claiming it was merely accumulated clouds full of rain and life. This, despite seeing death descending upon them, such is their obstinate refusal to accept the truth, even if the sword were at their necks, as the saying goes. Perhaps this refers to the story of Ad, and their response when they saw the cloud of death and devastation, saying, "A rain cloud will bring us rain." But the answer came, "No, it is what you hastened for. A wind carrying a painful punishment, destroying everything by the command of its sustainer." At this point, having vividly portrayed their stubbornness and defiance of the truth, even with destruction looming over them, the address turns to the messenger of God, peace be upon him, instructing him to turn away from their affair, to leave them to the day that was mentioned at the beginning of the surah, to the punishment awaiting them. He is called to be patient with the decree of his sustainer, who will strengthen him, protect him, and guide him. And he is urged to glorify his sustainer in the morning as he rises, and in the night, and at the setting of the stars. So leave them until they meet their day, when they will be struck down. A day when their plotting will avail them nothing, nor will they be helped. And for those who wronged, there is a punishment before that. But most of them do not know. So be patient with the decree of your sustainer. For indeed you are under our watchful eyes, and glorify your sustainer with his praise when you arise, and in the night glorify him, and at the retreat of the stars. This opens a new phase of the discourse, one that begins with a threat, a reminder of that dreadful day when the trumpet is blown and they will be struck down just before the resurrection and rebirth. On that day, no scheme will benefit them, nor will any protector come to their aid. Even though they may plot and scheme today on that day, neither their plotting nor their plans will avail them. Before that day, however, there awaits a punishment left unspecified, but most of them remain unaware. With this final threat, the matter of the deniers and wrongdoers is brought to a close. After a long and relentless pursuit, they are left to await the punishment that looms over them, whether it be distant or near. And now the focus shifts back to the noble prophet, who had been mocked and slandered by those who dared to insult him. The discourse now turns to him, peace be upon him, calling him to patience in the face of the hardship, the denial, and the arrogance he encounters. Patience on the long and difficult path of calling to the truth, leaving the matter to God's decree, who does with it as he wills. So be patient with the decree of your sustainer. With this call to patience comes the promise of divine honour, a special care from the Most High, and a comforting closeness that wipes away the burdens of the path, making patience a cherished state and the means to attain that divine honour. For indeed you are under our watchful eyes. What an expression, what an image, what a rank. This is a station that no human has ever attained. A station described in this unique expression found nowhere else in the Qur'an, even among similar expressions. To Moses, peace be upon him, it was said, "I have chosen you, so listen to what is revealed," and "I cast love upon you from me, so that you would be nurtured under my watch, and I have chosen you for myself." Each of these conveys an exalted station. But to Muhammad, peace be upon him, it was said, "For indeed you are under our watchful eyes," an expression of unique honour, of intimate closeness, casting a shade so delicate and tender that no human expression can ever truly capture its essence. All we can do is point to its subtleties and live within its radiant shade. With this comforting closeness comes guidance for maintaining a constant connection with the divine. And glorify your sustainer with his praise when you arise, and in the night glorify him and at the retreat of the stars. Throughout the day and night, upon waking from sleep, in the depths of the night, and at the retreat of the stars at dawn, there is an opportunity to bask in this beloved intimacy. For the believer, glorification is sustenance, companionship, and a private conversation of the heart. So how much more for the heart of the beloved prophet, the most beloved and nearest to his sustainer?